So Iron Triangle started with Jack and Marilee Young purchasing the road construction and logging operations from Heinz Lumber in 1983. Russ Young took over Iron Triangle in around 1996-97. At this point, we have cut-to-length logging sides, whole tree logging sides, a skyline logging side. We have the Seneca operation, ranching. We have Triangle Oil. We have a fleet of 16 log trucks. We have Timbers, the bistro. We run the log yard at Gilcrest, Interfor Gilcrest. We run the log yard at Malheur Lumber. We have long haul propane trucking. And we have a construction side that builds and remodels apartments. And all told, it's built to about 110 employees locally. If you put all your eggs in one basket and something like COVID-19 happens and all the mills shut down and nobody wants to buy wood, you're in a bad spot. I'm Zach Williams with Iron Triangle Logging LLC in John Day, Oregon. I mainly deal with day-to-day operations with logging, but I also deal with Forest Service allotment and any troubleshooting issues with any of the other operations that we have. When COVID hit in March, that's a breakup for us. So we're down, we're not logging in March, April, and usually the early part of May anyway. So that kind of hit at a time where things didn't necessarily affect us in that way. We didn't have any furloughs. We didn't take time away. There was a lot of concern with the employees. I mean, I would just say in general, it was fear and not knowing. Nobody really knew anything about the disease. Is it really going to be the same issue in John Day as we're seeing on the news in New York City, for instance? So the HR people and everybody had things in place that made sure that we were doing things safely. There's always the next terrible market-related thing that happens in the timber market. But this was kind of unforeseen and was as bad as I've seen it. While we want to get ecological restoration done, you can't force wood into a system that doesn't want wood. Let's just look at March 2020. We have 0 markets. We have timelines that are ending at the end of this summer on several different task orders, not to mention timber sales. So we started making outreach to the Forest Service and our partners saying, this is not good. I know that our partners like AFRC and AOL and the MFP and RVCC and tons of industry partners were pushing for some sort of relief on basically termination dates of contracts. Ultimately, through the Forest Service here locally and our contracting officer in Wenatchee, we were granted a year basically on all of our contracts to get through this time. Now, June rolled around, things were still not great. The housing market was completely shut down, plywood was bad, boards were bad, chip market was bad, but luckily at that point we had Seneca. That market was probably as hot as it's ever been during the COVID. It was crazy, it never slowed down a bit. So Seneca Post and Pole we put together in 2015 so that we could deal with the biomass or small diameter trees that the Malheur 10-year stewardship contract with the Malheur National Forest required that we remove as part of the contract. It's been a huge investment, and we have now, I think, 12 employees on the day shift and 4 employees on the swing shift. And we utilize about 8 million feet of fiber a year at that location. The markets were terrible. Then they started to climb back. There's still a lot of fear, I think. What we kept hearing from the bigger mills was that, yeah, it's coming back, but we don't know what's going to happen in the fall. So we still don't have a lot of long-term agreements as we normally would, but we were able to get enough in place that we were able to start logging. Because of the diversity of the company and the diversity of the employees, we can shift pretty quickly from species, size, depending on what the mills want, or the specific markets that do exist. It really just has to do with their willingness to lowboy equipment and move and just change, which costs money. I mean, all these things, you don't move, 80,000 pound piece of equipment without cost. While COVID's still obviously an issue and it has changed everything really in the country, but specifically for us, it's changed our operation, but we've been able to stay afloat and keep going and keep doing what we do. And at this point, all sides are going, all logging is progressing, and deliveries are to normal levels as they should be.